Hey, what's up? It's Plenty Blush here. Wanted to share a quick little thing that I learned about today with Clip Studio Paint. This is particularly great if you want to do more Y2K based art or want to do more maybe even Splatoon stuff where you have these little kind of paint splotches here. So I'm going to show you how to get this little effect here that I did in red for this piece. And I'll go ahead and I'll start up a new canvas just so we could start with something clean here. So we're going to make a new layer, and you'll want to keep this layer property in view here. It's important that we start out with color, and the best way to start with this is to get a nice big blurry brush. I recommend a soft airbrush here. I'm going to go ahead and draw just a big blurry X. And what we're going to do next is we're going to change this from color to monochrome. And when we do that, Clip Studio is basically going to try and create a nice clean outline for where it thinks the paint is here. So I'll change it to monochrome here. And you can see it kind of tried to draw an X generally where I put mine, but it was pretty blurry, so there's some wiggle room to play with. So this alpha threshold will say basically how wide you want Clip Studio Paint to draw that circle. Now the nice thing about using something like this is that we can keep using this airbrush and drag things around where we want. You could do a little almost Nickelodeon splat kind of effect. But also, if you want to bring in your spray brush, I have this set so that it's pressure sensitive for the particle size. I'm pressing down pretty hard here to get these big spots here. But as you can see, it's kind of clumping together, which is how I kind of create that more Y2K paint splattery blob sort of effect. Now the nice thing is that you can actually do the reverse of this, where you can kind of cut away some circles. So up here on the left, I've got my foreground in this kind of pink color, my background as this black, and then I've got this little checkerboard one here. And when you click on that checkerboard one, it will basically make an eraser for whatever tool you're using. So since I've got my spray here, I'm going to go ahead and start using that here. And as you can see, it's cutting away using that same kind of spray effect. So I can get really, really nice and gritty with this here. And then if I decide that, that's a little too much, I can still go in, cut this down with my general airbrush here, or build it back up by just switching back to foreground. Now the nice thing is, if you look at this and you say, this is a cool effect, but I don't want to keep it just in this black and white monochrome thing, all you gotta do is go up here to layer color, which is under that same layer property tab, and you can change this to whatever color you want. So let's say that I want this to be gold. Perfect. And actually, if you want, this doesn't have to just stay one color either. You can go ahead and put a gradient over this, or you can just start coloring in anything that you want. You could even put a full illustration within the boundaries of this if you want. So all you gotta do for that is make a new layer. Use this button here to clip to layer below. You can also do this from your menus. And that will say that it's only going to affect the layer that I have below it. So, for example, if I decide that I am going to take a more kind of salmony red here, and I want it to fade from that, I can start coloring it in, just like that. And there we go. I can turn that layer on and off at any time. I can add things back onto that layer if I want. And if I go back here to my little paint splotch layer, and I decide that I want to, expand this out, or tighten it in, I can do that at any time without affecting this clipping layer. I'd like to take a minute to thank my patrons over on Patreon for helping to make this little mini tutorial possible. I'd specifically like to thank Zarek, Mooks E, Thistle Wizard, and Sonic Mega. You can join them along with a couple others here over on my Patreon, where I share these little video tutorials a little bit early, and you'll also get to see some behind the scenes looks at how I make my art, and can access exclusive Patreon reward tiers that will get you art. I'm not currently offering commissions anywhere else, so if you do want any custom art from me, this would be the only place to get it. So pop on over to my Patreon and check out my Twitter if you have the time, and thanks for stopping by.